Hey my crafty critters, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Cami Ewalt, and today I'm going to show you guys how I make this glow-in-the-dark Northern Lights tumbler. I've not seen one with kind of a Santa theme to it, so I'm super excited to share it with you guys. If you are here for that tutorial, let's get into it. We're going to start with a fully sanded, washed, and dried 20-ounce curve from Stainless Steel Depot that I have spray painted with gloss navy and ink blue, both from Rust-Oleum. I started with 1 to 2 milliliters of Artistry Epoxy that I have smoothed thin over a cup that I have put in front of a space heater for just a couple seconds. And then I move into the glittering portion. So I am starting with Palace from Artistry Epoxy, and I chose this one because it's got a bluish tint, but it's got these opal flakes that I thought would be really, really pretty to show kind of almost like a starry night situation. And I'm not doing a heavy coat. Like I said, I just want this to be kind of that pop of stars. And then I use Silent Night, also from Artistry Epoxy, and get a full coverage up top like I usually do with my ombres. And then I'm going to tip my cup, and as I'm angled down, I'm just going to sprinkle on a little bit at a time, and we're going to build up our color from there. I'm then going to go in with Sleet from Artistry Epoxy, and these two glitters from Artistry Epoxy, along with the green, pink, and purple glow powder micas that I got from Artistry Epoxy, I have been able to pick and name as a bundle on their website, so I'm super grateful for that. Thank you, Artistry Epoxy, for recognizing the artists. So I will definitely link that below. But just like with any other ombre, we're going to start in the middle with the second color, kind of tip up, blend it into the top color, tip down, and blend it into the bottom. I'm not worried a ton about the bottom of this cup because we're going to be covering it a lot with paint and stuff anyway. So I have mixed an equal amount of Sleet with Dress Blues from Grateful Glitters, and I am just sprinkling up into that midsection because what I'm trying to do here is create kind of a night scene where it's super, super dark on top, and then, you know, as it gets kind of towards a city or a town or whatever, then it gets a little brighter in the middle of the sky. That's what I'm going for here. I will tell you that I put so much on this cup later that it didn't really matter. If I had to do this cup over again, I would probably just glitter one solid color because we go in with so much with this design. So use at your own will. The base of this cup, after I ombreed it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so gorgeous. So maybe for a different tutorial or a different style cup, this would be amazing. So at the end, I just take Sleet and go over the whole thing, make sure I've got solid coverage with all the glitter. So I then spray the whole thing with clear spray paint from Rust-Oleum, let it dry, and then go back in with 25 milliliters of Artistry Epoxy. I wait 5 hours, let it cure, come back in with the second part of a flood coat of 30 milliliters of epoxy and let it cure for 8 to 12 hours. I mixed up some Artistry Epoxy and I smoothed on about 15 milliliters, maybe 20 milliliters, smoothed it out like you normally would. And then I didn't realize when I got the green mica powder, glow mica powder from Artistry Epoxy, that it didn't have really a solid green tint to it, so you could see it kind of with the naked eye in the daytime or whatever without it being glowing. So I did mix in some of Grateful Glitter's neon green mica powder along with a pearl because I wanted it to just kind of have that whisper as we are going to be brushing it up with our silicone paintbrush. So I just kind of go on, there's not really any rhyme or reason here, I just did what I thought would be best. I went at an angle when I put the green on because as you're swiping up, it's going to look like it's traveling through the air like the Northern Lights. So I will say here, don't over brush. I had to go back in a couple of times with the mica powders because I overbrushed and wound up just blending in all of those colors. Perhaps mixing a little bit more of the pigmented green in from Grateful Glitters would have helped this, but I didn't want to lose that glow in the dark component. So I went back in, like I said, a couple times with the green, and then I moved on to using the pinks and the purples. I also mixed in some of that pearlescent color from Grateful Glitters and a little bit of their pigmented neon color from Grateful Glitters, both the pink and the purple. I then fiddled with it until I was finally happy-ish with it. And then I let it cure completely and epoxied it with 25 milliliters of epoxy. And after that, I realized it just wasn't bright enough to my liking. So I did go back in a second time after that coat of epoxy with another layer of epoxy and mica powders. I did wind up adding in a blue with pearl mixed in with it. Those were both from Grateful Glitters. I will link all of these products below. I then let this cure overnight, but 8 to 12 hours is totally sufficient. So then I got this file off Etsy. I'll link it in the description, but I cut the tree line both in black 651 vinyl and gray Starcraft vinyl. I did the black a little bit smaller. I shrunk it down a little smaller than the gray because I'm going to put the black trees in front. I then go to work adding the gray trees, and I'm not really worried about them lining up exactly right where I had cut through the vinyl because we're going to be layering black trees on top of it anyway. All right, so I have zoomed in here because I want to show you guys how I put kind of blockier vinyl on a curved surface. I put it down and try to keep that right side on the cup as I keep the left side up. Smooth down that right side, pull the transfer tape about to the middle of the blocky image or whatever, and then smooth down the left side, and then continue removing the transfer tape. I hope that makes sense. I zoomed in here so that I could show you guys. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I then carry on with the black trees, kind of staggering them in the gaps of the gray trees, kind of making a multi-layer situation there. I'm then going to cut a straight line across the bottom with a vinyl cutter that I got off of Amazon. I want a straight line to be able to tape off and spray paint the bottom here in just a few minutes. I then layer the Santa decal with the same gray and black that I used for the tree line using the wax paper method that I've gone over in a few of my other videos, so I won't spend a lot of time here. I layered the word decal on the other side of the cup in the same fashion, but for some reason it didn't get recorded, so I'm sorry about that, guys. So I just add the Santa and sleigh to the cup, and we're moving on. I'm then going to make sure that I seal all of this vinyl in with polyacrylic. This is going to make sure that you don't have fish eyes or that your epoxy doesn't raise up as it's curing. It really helps with a multitude of problems. So then I take some white acrylic paint mixed with a little bit of water, and I just want to create kind of a misting of snow over most of the cup. So I take just an old toothbrush and with my thumb with a glove just kind of spray it onto the cup, you might want to put some kind of paper down on the rest of your table if you don't want to share the love for the rest of the table. So then I just take a paper towel with some water on it to go back in and wipe away a little bit of that white acrylic water mix in the spots that I don't want it so heavy. I then went in with about 15 milliliters of Artistry Epoxy just to make sure everything was sealed in. Hopefully you guys can see it here. It just kind of creates a little bit of wintry depth to it. Not a ton. We get the snow, little bit of snow pops from that opal of the glitter and the different sizes from just spraying it with the toothbrush. So after this epoxy cures for about 8 hours, I'm going to go in with electrical tape and we're going to tape off that bottom where we cut with the vinyl cutter. I'm then going to drape saran wrap around the rest of the cup to protect it, take it outside and spray the bottom of that with a black matte spray paint from Rust-Oleum. Come back in, I take the saran wrap and tape off and let that dry completely. Once that's dry, I mix up 20 milliliters of Artistry Epoxy and I'm adding in just a skosh of this Over the Rainbow top coat additive to my epoxy, and this is going to kind of blend in that matte black bottom with the black of the trees. It's just going to kind of pull it all together. I then do one more coat of epoxy after this. That's about 30 milliliters at about that 5-hour mark, and then we are done. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them in the description. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I would love for you to check out these other videos. I will see you next time, guys. Have a great day.